The Swineherds Story. Please note that this story has been considerably edited as it contained a large amount of bad language and swearing. Ha! I enjoy a good drowning. You don't get much excitement herding pigs, though I expect it's better than looking after stupid sheep like those Jews across the lake do. At least pigs are more intelligent, and they smell better. But a good storm combined with a fishing boat can be very entertaining, though not very profitable. Drowned fishermen don't usually have much worth stealing, and that is only if they get washed up on our side of the lake. This was quite a big fishing boat, as fishing boats go. Must have been at least 12 men in it. And the storm very sudden, swooping down the valleys around here onto the lake and making one of those strange swirling storms. I was sure they were going to drown. They were right in the middle of it. They were dead men. But then suddenly there was no storm. I've never seen anything like it. But then Galilee's a strange, moody lake. You wouldn't get me in a boat on it. I'll stick with my pigs, thank you. Anyway, the boat continues over to the little cove, which is the only landing site for miles around, because most of the land around here drops pretty steeply into the sea. I think they were only landing to catch their breath after the storm, but they walked into another storm. There was this unholy scream when our local madman goes rushing down to greet them. Aha, I think to myself, we may have some entertainment after all. This mad guy's been around the tombs here for a long time, screaming and shouting and cutting himself with stones. His family would visit him and bring him food and try and clothe him, but he would soon tear the clothes off and leave the food for the seagulls or pigs or us if we could get to it first. It is said that he was once a famous Roman commander, and he and his men were caught in an ambush and they were all slaughtered, all 6,000 of them. He only escaped because he was smashed on the head and taken for dead. Some say he was possessed by the spirits of the men he once commanded. We would often hear him shouting and screaming orders as if he was reliving the horror of all that slaughter again and again. Some of the locals were terrified of him, but to us he was good sport. We could so easily wind him up, throw a few stones at him, shout something rude about his wife or his abilities to command troops, and whoosh off he would go, shouting and screaming, hurling great boulders and tearing up the gravestones with his bare hands. Sometimes his family would hear about what was happening and come and try and calm him, and then other families worried about their family graves would come and try and chain him up. Wow, this would keep us entertained for hours. His own family trying to settle him down, and families who own graves trying to catch him and chain him up, and then the families would fall out and start arguing and fighting amongst themselves. If he was caught and chained up, he would usually break free and run off screaming into the desert. And now here comes a boatload of fishermen. Ah, yes, this could be very good entertainment. So the screaming started and the rocks and other stuff began to fly. Most of the fishermen hung back near their boat. But there was this one guy, he just walked calmly up the beach towards the screaming naked man, and I was thinking, it doesn't get much better than this. This guy's gonna get his butt whipped. And our guy was screaming something about torture and bottomless pits, and the guy from the boat was just quietly talking to him. Then they started looking at our pigs, and I began to get a bad feeling. Now, I've been herding pigs ever since I can remember, and my father before me, and his father before him, and there is nothing I don't know about herding pigs. And there was something going on that was not quite right. And then there was this strange puff of wind and such a vile smell that I've never smelt before or since. And I promise you, us pig herders know about smells. And the pigs became restless and noisy and started biting and kicking one another. And then it was as if the whole herd was possessed by fear and started running. There were 4 of us herders, and we were trying to calm them down and stop them hurting each other. And then they were charging towards the lake, and we were trying to head them off. But 2,000 pigs is a lot of pigs to head off. And plop, the lot, right into the sea, and not even a piglet left. Some of those pigs were actually my friends. Do you know how much a herd of 2,000 pigs is worth? Well, if one pig is worth, say, 250 quid and there are 2,000 pigs, then you do the maths. Yeah, that's 500,000 quid plop into the sea. Someone is not going to be pleased about that. And that someone is Julius Gaius, who is actually not so Gaius, especially when it comes to his pigs. I have had the price of a piglet taken out of my wages when it died, and I swear it was not my fault. He is one mean man, and he's not going to be pleased that his whole investment of pigs has just tried to learn to swim and failed. And most of those pigs were destined for the tables of the Roman army, who will not also be delighted to be without their bacon. And who is Julius going to blame? Me and my mates. Well, it wasn't my fault. It must have been that bloke from the boat. He did something. He must be some sort of wizard or magician, and he did some sort of weird magic stuff on the madman, who, come to think of it, seems to have stopped screaming. He was screaming, and then the pigs were screaming, and then we were screaming, trying to stop them leaping into the sea, and now it's quiet. Quiet as a graveyard. Well, I suppose we are in a graveyard, but this one isn't usually quite so quiet. Well, I'm not hanging around here with these not madmen, and someone has got to tell Julius what happened. How some guy turned up in a boat, upset our madman, and scared all them pigs into the sea. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. So we ran and we told everyone we saw on the way, and by the time we got back with Julius, there was quite a crowd gathered, and some were actually fishing some of the dead pigs out of the sea. They say that pork salted with seawater makes the best bacon. However, unfortunately, the Sea of Galilee is a freshwater lake. Anyway, there was our madman, no longer naked and screaming, but sitting quietly beside the guy from the boat, and they were chatting like long-lost buddies. Julius was not a happy man. Now he was furious that people were trying to steal his drowned pigs. Then he noticed the bloke from the boat and the madman, who didn't seem to be mad any longer. Julius went over to them and began to shout about who was going to pay for his pigs that got drowned. Then the madman's family turned up and started hugging him and crying him and hugging each other and hugging Julius and hugging the man from the boat who was smiling. And the other men from the boat all seemed a bit stunned by it all. And then the madman tried to give a snort like a pig. He used to be very good at that. And everybody started laughing and then crying at the same time, and only Julius was left scowling. But he couldn't risk making too big a scene, as the man had been important in the Roman army, and Julius, always the businessman, could not afford to lose one of his best customers. All in all, it had been rather freaky, and we were not sure what was going to happen next. Someone said the guy from the boat would make all our grapes go pop, and others, because he was a Jew, that he would cause a plague of locusts or make frogs drop from the sky or turn the water into blood. Yeah, I think we'd all had more than enough entertainment for one day. Time for the entertainer to go home. I think enough is enough. So they got back into the boat and left the madman with his family, and for months afterwards he went round telling everyone that this guy, Jesus was his name, had forgiven him and set him free, and that God loved them and would forgive them too if only they would ask. I say pah to all that. We soon got some more pigs, but I do miss having somebody to throw stones at.